Hi guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. You're welcome to Victory Fashion Up with Victoria here today. How are you doing? Hope you're fine. Returning subscriber, you know I love you guys so much, and new subscriber, you're welcome to the family. As you can see on the first video, that is the tutorial that I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make the office wear. For the first thing is that I'm going to be cutting the front part first, then I'll fold the fabric into two, then I'll divide my half length measurements. The remaining one I added 2 inches to it for the down part, so I measured the length I'm going to use. That is what I'm actually doing right now, and I'm so sorry if you hear any noise. That's because children are talking. I'm so sorry about that. So after that, you are going to measure from the waist to the hip measurement. For this I used 8 inches. So from the waist to the hip, but later on I use 8.5 because the person is a bit tall. So after that, you measure your waist to your new measurement. You measure your waist to your new measurement, and then you measure the length measurement just the way I'm doing it. Then you can use your ruler. You may not want to use the hand method I'm using. Then the next thing is divide your waist by 4 and add your allowance. You can use 2 inches allowance, you can use 1.5 inches allowance. At first I wanted to put that in this. I don't want to put that, but later on I put that. So then you measure the bust measurement and divide it by 4 and add 2 inches to it. So to get your knee measurement, you measure what you have in the bust and minus 2 inches or 1.5 inches to it. Then I went down to the bust. It's just to give me a shape. Then you draw the straight line to the waist and draw it to the knee line. You can use your cuff or you use your hand method, just the way I'm doing it right now. So I'm used to using hand. So I measured the knee measurement to the down. I'm so sorry, I didn't know it didn't show, but I just measure when I measure here down, then I'm going to cut it out. And if you're watching till now and you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Make sure you subscribe and turn off notification button to know when we upload new video. So at this point, the difference between the front and the back is put the zip allowance to it, and that is what I do. I use 2 inches zip allowance, then I cut the other place the same thing. There is no difference. The bust, the waist, everything is the same thing, as you can see. Then I'm going to notch the zipper part, notch it down. Yes, then I split it into 2 because the black was joined. So after that, I'm going to I'm going to remove half inches for the zip to sit. Sit well. Sorry guys. So the next thing that we're going to do is measure the upper part of the dress. Then you measure the half length of the person. For this we are going to be using 16 inches. Then I added 1 inch to it. That makes it 17 inches because at the down part we are still going to join on the shoulder. We are still going to join it to the down part, so we need allowance to sew it inside. So when I measured it, that is what you're actually looking at, the length of the upper part. As you can know, you have already cut out the full part. So for this one, we are actually cutting the front part first too, just the way we did to the down part. So I measured the person shoulder measurement, divided by 2. For this it is 8.5. Then I wanted to put, then the next thing is I put shoulder neckline 3x3 for the front measurement. I used 3x3. Later on I cut it down a little bit because I don't want it to be too choky on the lady. That's why there is an office dress. It still has to come down a little bit, but if you don't want it to come down, you can actually go down by 3x3. So after that, I did 1 inches down for the slope, and I draw it to the line I drawed here. So after that, I'm going to measure the chest measurement, the armhole measurement. The armhole measurement can be 7, it can be 8, 7.5, it can be 8 inches. Just divide your bust by 3 and add So that is just it. For this one I later use 7.5, but I'm going to draw it. I'm just drawing it for you guys to know that you can actually use 8 inches, you can actually use 7 inches. At first I wanted to use 8 inches, but later on I changed it to 7.5 because I don't want the armhole to be too big. Then you divide your bust by 4 and add your 2 inches allowance to it. Your allowance may be 3 inches, your allowance may be 1.5, but I prefer using 2 inches. For the waist, yeah, you can use this method to do your measurement. You use your tape rule to divide your waist by 4, just the way I'm doing it. That's what I'm actually doing. Then I measured the waist measurement, then I add 1 inches to it, and I added 2 inches to allowance. That is what I did. I didn't know it didn't show, but I'm really sorry, but that is just how I did it. Then I chalked it to the bust point measurement. Then after that I measure the armhole, divide it into 2, just the way you're seeing. I divide it into 2. Then I go in by ½ inch. I go in by that ½ inch. Then I draw the armhole line just to give me a nice shape in the armhole. That's why I did it like this. So the next thing that we're going to do now is cut it out. And if you watched till now, you have still not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. What did I do to you? Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification button to see more of my video. There are a lot of video you can watch. So I'm actually using this to cut out the back. As you can see, I put 2 inches allowance down. That is the difference between the back and the front. Then I'm going to cut it out right now. So after that, I'm going to notch the 2 inches in the down part, then notch the 2 inches in the upper part to then remove the front measure, remove the front. Then after that, I'm going to remove the ½ inches that I removed at the down part. I removed the ½ inches. This ½ inches remove is just for your zip to sit where you see some clothes, the puff will be doing puff. It's because they don't remove this ½ inch. If you remove ½ inch, it usually make your dress, even some remove 1 inch, usually make your dress more suitable in your back. So at this point, I'm actually doing the ½ inch, then I'm going to do the down part. This one too can make your dress sit well. So you go up by 1.5 inches or 1 inches, depends on how curvy the person is. So that is it. For this one, I go up by 1.5 inches, then I cut it down. That is what I did here. So then after that, I have to put the notch back to the distance since I've cut it. So I notch the 1.5, then I notch the next thing is cutting out the neckline for the back. So for the back, we are going to do 3 by 1.5 inch. Yes, 3 by 1.5 inch. You can do 3 by 1, depends on how you want. At this point, you can use your curve ruler to curve it, because the first time I curve it, I curve rubbish, as you can see. So I had to cut it. I have to still use it to cut it more often. You see the way I later curved it, that is one. Then I cut it out. After this, then I make sure I notch the 2 inches in the upper part for the zipper allowance. Then I cut out the neckline for the front too. I've not cut it out before, so I cut it out by now. I hope you're understanding. If you have any question, you can comment down below for me to see. If you want me to do any tutorial, you can go to our YouTube channel to come to chat me up or comment on it now. At this point, I was doing the sleeve, and it's just a normal sleeve, a straight normal sleeve. Then I used that one to cut out the second one out, as you can see. So that is the 2 sleeve we are using. So I'm cutting out the facing for the front and the back. So for this is the facing. I'm going for this dress, we are going to be using facing. So right now, let's go to the sewing, because I want this tutorial to be on sewing and the cutting. I don't want different video. So I think our next video will be on puff. And so after this, you sew the down part of the, what did I call this thing? Oh, you shall see what I'm actually saying. You can weave this and you can sew it facing. You can weave it and you can sew it. So the next thing after that, after I sew it finish, I'll put it reverse side facing each other, right side facing each other, then sew it and notch it and top stitch it and turn it. I'm going to do the same thing to the back too. I'm going to do right side facing each other with the facing, and then notch it and I top stitch it. That makes it, sorry guys, that makes it neat. Then sew it, notch it, top stitch and sew the side for the back and turn it like this and give it a good press. So I was done here. I had to press it very well. Then I already put the dart for the front and the back, so you can put your own dart too, or you may not if you don't want. So for this dress you really need ironing. If you are lazy in ironing, don't go there because every simple step you need to iron. At this one you use the back facing to turn the shoulder just the way we used to do. Then you do the other side too. You do the other side like this, just turn it just the way you see it. Then you sew it like that. Then after that I'm going to sew the side, then secure the side of the dress, measure the bust, the waist and secure it. Before you do this, you can actually sew the zipper part with your gathers, or you use your pin to hold it. That is just what I did. I used my pin to hold it. By this time I'm done with it, like it's already given. If you did not listen since, I need you to be paying attention to this, because this is the most important. This is where the flare is going to get to. So if you know how to cut all the things we have been doing since, but this is where the star is. So for me, I use 2 inches by 2 inches. You can use 2.5 by 2.5. You can use 1 inches by 1 inch. It depends on how you want the gap of the distance to reach. So the thing I did is I notched the midpoint on the front, and I will measure 2 inches in the side from that midpoint for another one. Then I did the same thing for the back. You cannot, then I notch it down just the way you are saying it. If you don't want yours to have this style in the back, you can actually do your flare to get to the zipper part, then you put zip. But me, I wanted to have a design in the back, like, you know, doesn't be the office design. So I actually, because I didn't even see the back of the styles, but client that just sent me this. So after that, I went to the midpoint of the front too. I notched 2 inches down. I notched 2 inches down for the front too. Then I notched 2 inches for the other side too. This side is very tricky, a little bit, not too much, but if you pay attention to it, you get everything. So after that, you notch this one too, you notch it. So that is all. After that, you now start, you measure it. When I was done with this dress, it gave me 3.5, and it was making sense. As you can see in the first video, it was making sense. So from the way you notch, you measure it to the other side of the notch. You just see the way I'm measuring it to the front notch. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So I measure it, then I re-measure it, so you guys will get what from the back, I measure it to the front notch. You know, you get. Then for the other side too, you measure it. It has to be the same measurement. It has to be the same. I forgot to show you guys the other measurement, but it's actually the same measurement. It's 7.2 inches. 7.2 inches. So to cut the flare, you're not going to be doing full flare. You fold it into 2 just the way I do it when you want to do a A-shaped dress. Yes, that is how you're going to fold this. As you can see, I fold it into 2 because the dress is not actually a flare like that. Like the flare is not that much. So the measurement you measured that time, you divide it into 2. Yes, since we fold the dress into 2, we are going to divide the flare into 2. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Then you notch it, you chalk it straight. You can do it coffee, you can do anyhow you want. just notch it. Then you measure it. If it's the same measurement, you can add 1 inches to it, because we are still going to be cuffing it at the end. At this place I added half 1 inches to it, because when I want to cuff it and sewing, everything has to be there. Then I give it a straight line here, because as you can see, the other side is not the same measurement to the when I cuffed it. I hope you understand. So for the down part, I used 9 inches. Yes, I used 9 inches, and the fabric was not enough. I had to buy another plain materials to make the style for the second flare. So I used 9 inches. When I sew finish, everything will just be around 8 inches. Then I sew it just the way you're seeing, then cut it out. I'm going to be using this to cut out the second one. You know, there's one side and the other side, so I'm cutting it out now. After this, I'm going to be as you can see on the thumbnail, the dress is not straight like this. It has cuff. The design has cuff, so you just place it and cuff it like this. So you just use this one, is just free method. You just do your free method and cuff it out just the way you are seeing it right now. When you cuff it finish, you cut it out. Yes, you need to cut it out. At this point, I was very careful on the way it should look. As you can see, this mouth is a bit sharp, so I have to make it more coffee and just look for it. So, and if you're still watching till now and you have not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notification button to see more of my video when I upload. And if you have any question, you can comment down below or chat me on my Instagram page at Victy Fashion Hub YouTube. Then my business page that is so close that people can order from, it's at Victy Fashion Hub, so you can chat me up there. Make sure you follow all my social media. My TikTok page is Victy Fashion Hub, my Facebook page, just follow all my page. So for the second step, as you can see, I'm still going to be using this to explain to you guys so you get it. So for the second flare, you're going to measure the 2 inches inward, then 2 inches. So I'm going to explain how this front come up. I don't know, I didn't do the video, but I thought I did the video, but I didn't see the video anymore. But let me try to explain to you guys at the very soon. So I divided it by 2, then I cut it out 2. I see that down is too much, so I was making sure it was 5.5. Then I want to make it 6 because I'm still going to be cutting it out a little bit. So at this point, I know what I wanted. Then I came down by what I wanted. Then I measured for this second flare, I measured 7 inches. So at the point when I was done, it will be like 6 inches. Then the down part will be like 8 inches. So it's just 2 inches interval. I hope you get it. Then I'll cut just the way I'm doing is 7 inches right now. Yeah, that is it. Then I'll cut. You can use yours more longer or more shorter, anyhow you want it, but that is what I used, as you can see. Then I'm going to cut it out and use this to cut out the second one. As you can see on the video, the second flare did not start where the first flare started. We go in by 2 inches in the side. I'm going to explain to you guys very soon what I'm trying to say on the. So the first one was 14 inches. I minus 2 inches, and that is 4 inches. That was how I get the flare of this now. But then I cuff it out, and I'm going to cuff it out. I'm still going to re-explain what I just said now, so you guys will get it more. So that is what I'm doing. Then after this, I'm going to be cutting the lining now. The thing is that you have to sew the upper part before cutting this lining, because that's where we are going to notch. So we are cutting the lining for the flare. As you can see, that's what we are doing right here. We're cutting the lining. We are done cutting the lining. So after that, we are going to sew right side facing each other. For lining does not have right side, so let's just say right side facing each other. Then you sew it and notch it. You sew it, then we do the same thing to this side too, to the other side, sew it round. Then we do the same thing to the flare side, this second part to sew it here. So after that, I sew it here, then I notch it. You need to notch, very important, so it will be, the intense will not be too much on the dress. So you notch it and turn it and give it a good press. As you can see, I'm turning it, then I give it a good press, as in good press. Let the lining do not show, like the pressing should be pressing. So that was what I'm doing right here. I give it a good press, like the pressing should be pressing. You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it. So after that, I love the way it come out to be, because this thing, your iron has to hot. So at this point, I go in by 2 inch. I told you guys I'm going to explain why the 2 inches out, as you can see. So the second flare do not start from the edge of the first flare, so you have to go in by 2 inches, just the way I did. That's why I removed that 4 inches from the measurement of the first one. I don't know if you understand. And I sew it down. So this is how it looks when I sew. You see the ironing is making it iron like it was making sense. So at this point, we are going to join it to the upper part of the dress. Yes, we are going to join it to the upper part of the dress. So where we notch the 2 inches, where we notch, we are going to place it like right side facing each other. You see, when you turn it like it will just look like flare. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Just look like flare. You turn it, you sew it from the first notch to the notch that is in the back too. Sew it like this. So just the way I'm doing it, then you meet up with the notch that is in back. Sorry guys. So we do the same thing to the other side. So it's from the notch or the second notch and meet the notch in the back. That is what we are doing right now. So check out the look at it. It's already giving before we even end the dress. But these materials, I don't really like it on this dress though, but it's given already. So that's how it's going to give. By this time now, we are going to the down part of the dress, because we are finished with the upper parts for now. So the next thing is we are going to the upper part, the down part, sorry. So now this is the down part. We are going to go and put that to the back of the dress. Put that, then put that in the other side. Before we put that, I'm going to iron everything, like give it a good press. That's why I said, if you don't know how to iron, don't do this dress. Then you sew the zipper part from this, just the way you did it. You put your this thing. Then I already sew it down. At this point, I found out that I need to put that in the front. Then I need to put that in the front. I would love that to be in the front. I don't want it before, but at this point I loved it, so I had to put that, then sew this side. Before I went to sew it, I give it a good press, because it needs press. Then I iron. For this one, it's very compulsory. You go in by 1 inch for the front, not the back, the front. You can go into it by for stomach, so it will sit where your stomach. You can go in by 1.5 inch or 1 inch, and then you sew the side. At this point, I was done sewing the side. When I was done sewing the side, I give it a good iron to iron the side, iron the back. Like I told you that this dress is ironing. Yeah, you need to iron it. You sew small thing like this, iron it. So the next thing now is removing the pin that is in the back. So then removing the pin that is in the back of the upper part too, because I told you guys there's pin there, the zipper pin, the zipper part of the pin. That's what I'm actually removing here. Then you turn it, you face right side facing each other. For this, your sewing allowance has to be the same. The side sewing has to be the same place. For this dress, it didn't even stress me at all, because all the measurement, when you measure well, you don't have to stress. You measure well, you get the same measurement. So as you can see, right side facing each other. Then your flared has to be in between of these two sewing, then you sew it side, sew it to the other side. You're sewing, as you can see, my sewing was in the same place, like the sewing side, then you sew it the other, then you sew it just the way you are. So you just sew the both side and give it a good rest and weave it. You need to weave it, then put the zipper parts. At this point, I was almost done. So I was done. Sorry about this. I was done cut. So look at the back, how the back is looking. It was really nice in mannequin. Like, I don't know, my phone has been doing somehow. The videoing is not videoing very well. But at this point, I hope you see the outcome. So for this thing, I had to put Emmy gum to gum it down, like to go give me a good. For this one, I'm going to be using it for the sleeve, and I did the video for the sleeve. The only sleeve, like, it's just simple thing. You put the gathers to this, just the way you see. That is the thank you so much for watching. So this is just this how the sleeve look like. I didn't know that the video of the sleeve was not recording, but it's a very simple sleeve. So I didn't put the belt. I forgot. I'm going to put the belt, but this is actually the outcome of the dress. It's giving everything. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe and turn on notification whenever you see my video. So bye. See you guys on my next video. Bye. Make sure you subscribe.